We can already start. Anyways,
Yeah.
the recording, by the way, will be available. So you will be always able to access it later. Just one thing before Luke will kick off the meeting. The Q&A will be at the end of the session. Yeah, so we'll try to answer your questions. Those that we will not be able to answer, we will follow up. Luke, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks Anna, and welcome to everyone for this session, which is jointly organized by EPEES and Solid State Supply. Solid State Supply is one of our key partners and our local distributors in the UK and Ireland. Just a bit of a housekeeping. So what we plan is to have this session lasting for between 1 and 1.5 hours. So we allow ourselves a bit of extra time in case we need to answer additional questions. Okay, like Anna mentioned, so you can submit your questions, comments into the chat section. During the Q&A session, we'll have Hugh Rotten from Solid State Supply. We will read them out, and Hugh is our account manager. I mean, he's the EPEES account manager at Solid State Supply, and like Anna mentioned, this session is recorded, so you can play this session at a later stage if needed. So maybe just to introduce myself, moving to the next slide. So my name is Luc Engrand, and I'm the sales director covering Europe, Middle East and Africa for EPEES. And I will give you a brief presentation of EPEES. But then it will be followed by Sasha Maes, who is our field application engineer, and she will explain the principle of evaluating the energy before the energy harvesting before the design implementation. Then this will be followed by Richard Bethel, who is the technical director at Solid State Supply, and he will cover the topic of powering embedded wireless solutions with energy harvesting. And like we said, at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. Okay. So looking first at the EPEES, what we do, first of all, it stands for Electronic Portable Energy Autonomous Systems. We are a fabless semiconductor company. The headquarters is located in Belgium. We also have a design center in Switzerland. We have offices in the US and also in Asia. Really, our key focus is to work on ultra-low power designs, ultra-low power applications. This is really the core competency of EPEES, especially for energy, for edge computing type of devices, also for very low power applications, where we have also applied some of our patterns to those, I would say, to those design techniques. One thing I would like to mention is in terms of, I would say, the market segment that we are targeting right now. It's related to the smart agriculture, to the industry 4.0, retail business, and also in some cases in the automotive. In terms of sales channels, so we rely on a network of distributors, and Solid State Supply is one of them, covering, as I mentioned earlier, the UK and Ireland. Okay. So why do we need energy harvesting? As you know, most IoT devices are now widely deployed with different functions. Some of them to sense data, some of them to measure data, like in smart metering applications, for instance, or for asset tracking. Those devices, in most cases, are using batteries, and those batteries need to be replaced. Okay. And this creates, of course, a lot of issues, headaches to the end user in terms of replacement, sending a technician to replace those. It's time consuming, and of course, it's quite costly. That's why energy harvesting makes sense, and it starts to be, I would say, deployed as well, and we see stronger and stronger interest from the customers to have it implemented. Okay, it reduces the cost. It also allows to add functionalities because you can take benefit of the extra energy that you could get from the extended battery lifetime, for instance. Okay, so that's why we see a strong interest on the energy harvesting, and that's why we decided also to have this joint webinar to explain to you the benefits and the principles. As I mentioned earlier, EP's core competency is on the low power designs, and basically what we have as of today is what available to you through solid state supply is a power management IC, which collects the energy from the harvester cell and store this energy or transfer this energy to a rechargeable battery or storage element or supercap. Okay. As I mentioned in my introduction, we are very much involved in the edge computing type of devices. It means also that on top of the power management, you have a sensing part, which could be different sensors like humidity, temperature, pressure, whatever. So we do have an ecosystem on this with partners. You need a processing unit. And later this year, we will also be introducing a low power MCU, which is still under development. So today's really presentation is focusing on the power management IC, which is now widely available and which has been in production for many years now. But also you need some kind of communication and radio chips. And we are partnering with LoRa providers, LoRa chipset providers, Bluetooth, BLE, Sigfox, Narrowband IoT, and so forth. And that's why also Rich from Solid State Supply is going to explain to you some use cases using some of those radio chips there. Okay. Looking at the market segments, what we see the trend and where it's being deployed, one of the, I would say, largest revenue from our side at least is on the smart retail business with ESL, electronic shelf label, which is on the top left here. We see the smart agriculture, for instance, with animal tracking, cow tracking type of applications. In the smart home wearable market, we are involved in fit bands, outdoor sport watches, for instance. And we see it also on the smart industry, like in asset tracking, predictive maintenance, and things like that. And we see also a trend in terms of people carrying, like also, for instance, if you want to detect someone falling, for instance. Okay. As I mentioned, so energy harvesting brings you the allows you to reduce the maintenance cost. It adds some features. It reduces the storage volume of the initial battery, for instance, and of course, it can also extend the lifetime of your device or the battery itself. Okay. Some of the use cases or examples from our customers, for instance, using photovoltaic here, we had customers developing cathode tracking systems, which is the one in the middle here I'm showing here. We did a webinar end of November, actually, with our customer Sodac on that one. Asset tracking, like vehicle tracking, for instance, parcel tracking on the right example here, or the two right examples. We are also doing, we've been also doing predictive maintenance with this device developed with our partner AGC for windscreen to detect any windscreen cracks. On RF also, we are supporting RF. You can see also some electronic shelf label type of application or smart types there. Okay, so those are some typical examples. I will now pass over to Sasha, who will give you more details about the principles of energy harvesting. Okay.
Thank
Sasha,
you, Luc.
Stage is yours now.
Yeah, I'm going to take over the presentation. Okay, can you see my screen, Luc?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so again, everyone, thank you for joining. We're really glad of it. So I'm Sasha from APs. I'm the field application engineer. Today I'm going to go through the basics of energy harvesting. And I also hope to give you some information that are important to remember when designing such a system. If you have any question during the talk, there is a Q&A window. So don't hesitate to drop any question, and we'll see after the presentation how far we can answer to your questions. So first of all, here there's a slide on it's a very high level diagram of what a energy harvesting system is. So on top of what I call your device, so it's the application you want to supply, is the sensor or the radio communication and so on. There are three major components. So the first component is the harvester. So it basically can transfer the ambient energy into electric energy. So it's possible to harvest from different sources, as Luc said previously. And there's also a storage element, and that gives the application a certain amount of autonomy to the autonomy when we don't have energy at the ambient source. And we also have the major component, which is really the coordinator of everything, which we call the Ambient Energy Manager, so the AEM. And it coordinates everything, and it integrates all the features that you need when designing an energy harvesting system, and all the feature very dedicated to energy harvesting. So it's generally called as power management IC, but here is very, very specific, and it's all the features you need. So we have a family of those projects depending on the source we want to harvest from. The most common here is the solar, and we have this dedicated chip, which is called the AEM 10941. It's important to mention that we can harvest from solar, but we can also harvest from indoor light as well. So it's really convenient when we have sensors in a room, like in an office and so on. And the second project we have is the AEM 2940. So it's dedicated to thermal harvesting. So it means when we have a gradient of temperature, we can extract energy from this. And similarly, we can harvest energy from vibration and from radio frequencies. And this is made through the AEM 3940 module. So all those chips are available on Solid State Supply website, and they all come with a dedicated evaluation kit. And I'll talk about that later, but they're very easy to configure and to start playing with. So now I really want to go a little deeper in the technical features of this chip, of this module. So as I said, there are few features very useful and required for energy harvesting. The first one I want to mention is the fact that the internal piece of the module is a boost converter, and with a high efficiency. And this boost converter comes with an MPPT algorithm, which is very, very required. So what is the MPPT algorithm and how to configure it? So the MPPT stands for Maximum Power Point Tracking. And for now, I'm going to take the example of the solar harvesting, because as I said, it's the most common, but what I'm going to say applies also to other type of energies as well. So here I focus on the AEM 10941. So when we take the characterization of a solar cell, we see a peak of power. And the maximum power point means that we basically want to work at this maximum of power, because we want to harvest the most power as possible from the PV cell here. And so this maximum of power comes with what we call a VMPP, and it's basically the optimum voltage. And so we want to regulate the input of the module, so the AEM module, or the output of the PV cell, to this voltage in particular. So that's the first step, is that we want to regulate at this voltage, and that the chip does by itself. And secondly, we also want to have a tracking of this VMPP voltage, because when the luminosity changes, we're going to have a different curve, and the VMPP will be different slightly. And so we want to track those variation of luminosity and still be able to work at the maximum power that the PV cell can output. And how we do that to track, we actually know that there is a constant ratio between the MPP voltage and the open circuit voltage. And it's a constant ratio for a given PV cell. So it has to be characterized first when choosing a PV cell. So when we know this constant ratio, we're actually gonna every 5 seconds, in the case of the AM10941, every 5 seconds, we're gonna evaluate the open circuit voltage. And because we know this ratio, we're gonna apply this ratio and regulate at the MPP voltage that we found. And another thing that is really interesting in the AEM module is that this configuration is made through 2 input pin of configuration. So it's whole hardware, there is no software required, and we can select the ratio as we like through those 2 pins. So that is for the MPPT algorithm. The second feature I want to mention is the fact that we have 2 regulated outputs integrated in the chip. So we have 2 LDOs, one we call the high level LDO and the other one the low level, but it's just, you know, denomination. And we can, of course, adjust those voltages as we like to match the application supply voltage the supply voltage that is required. We also have a storage element protection. And so I'm gonna describe this a little bit more. So the storage element protection basically means that we have an over discharge protection, really to protect the storage, the storage, because like over discharge can really damage some of them. And we also have over voltage protection. And there is this intermediate voltage that we call the charge ready level. And it's basically the point from which we're gonna enable the LDOs. So the LDOs will be, it's possible to supply the ICs and the application when we have a decent amount of energy in the storage element only. So it's really a matter of protection. And we are also very versatile in terms of what kind of storage elements we can use and what kind of technology we can use, because there are a lot of different technologies, and our chip can work with a pretty every one of them, from the lithium-ion battery to the supercapacitor, and both of them, because I said battery versus supercapacitor, do have their assets. And that can be interesting in different applications. And again, the configuration of those storage protection, so those level of voltage, can be made by 2 means. First of all, it is possible to choose a predefined configuration, again with 3 configuration pin that we call CFG. So the CFG configuration will define the level of voltage of the protection, but also the level of the LDOs. And that's a great asset of this chip, is that there are predefined configurations. So in case one of those fits the application, we don't need to add external resistor and add external leakage and so on. So, but we also, if this doesn't fit, we can also use the custom mode, where we can define the level of voltage as we like through voltage divider, like as general. So other feature is the fact that we have a cold start circuit. So the cold start circuit really is used when all the nodes are deeply discharged. And we do want to supply the module with the harvester only. And so that's the cold start circuit that will be used at this moment, and only at this moment, because the cold start circuit will be removed from the path when we are in a normal mode, and then we can increase the efficiency thanks to that. And we have very interesting condition of cold start, because we can cold start from 3 microwatts only and 380 millivolts. So it's kind of low, and it's really interesting for certain application. We have a feature that allows to place a primary battery. So a primary battery is usually a non-rechargeable battery that we place as a backup of the harvester. So it means that when the storage is discharged and when the load still consumes energy, and we don't have enough energy at the harvester, we can use the primary battery if we want as a backup. So that is really good feature as well. And again, it's everything is configured through hardware pins. And so there's no software required whatsoever. So as a demonstrator here, I want to explain the module we made. It's really a proof of concept, so it's not a product that we sell. It's a demo on 2H shows and everything. So we see here the PCB. What is on this PCB is we have sensors, temperature, humidity, and luminosity. We take information and we send them to a phone, so an app that we made through a BLE communication every 9.5 seconds. So the whole board consumes about 50 microwatts in average, so over the whole period of time. And with the supercapacitor of 160 millifarad, we can achieve 3 hours of autonomy. And that's an assumption we take. We wanted to have only 3 hours of autonomy, so we can reduce the supercap. And we have a PV cell of 350 microwatts under 500 luxes. And so that's a bit what's inside the demo. So we can see here the demo working with the app. So we have the graphs here where we see the storage element voltage and all the sensors I described. So we see, for example, that the voltage across the storage elements will rise because during the day, because we have light to harvest from. And then when we don't have, when it's the night, so during approximately 12, 16 hours, the voltage across the storage elements will really go down because the sensor are still measuring and still sending data. So that's a bit, now you can see a bit the functioning of the storage element and everything. So and that's really important. It's the power budget analysis. It's really made to design the PV cell and the storage element. It's the approach to take when designing such a system. And it really comes from the consumption, the total consumption. So here I take a period of time of 24 hours because we are with solar panels. So it's coherent to take 24 hours as period of time. So we need to evaluate the amount of energy that is consumed over those 24 hours. So we have approximately, and it depends on the assumption in the case, but generally we take an assumption of 8 hours of light every day. And then we have 16 hours without any light. So we have to consider this whole energy. So in energy harvesting, it's really important to integrate this notion of time and of duration, because it's the whole amount of energy that we will need to store. So we have this consumption. Here we have peak of consumption. So for example, when we transmit a message through Bluetooth, and we take some assumptions. So for example, here we take 8 hours of light each day. We consider obviously the boost efficiency, the converter efficiency, and the internal leakage. And on basis of that, we can find the minimum power that the PV cell should supply in order to match with this total energy that we need by knowing that we have only 8 hours of light every day. And similarly, so that's for designing the PV cell. And for designing the storage element, we're gonna consider the energy consumed during the night. So when we don't have light, and that's what we call the autonomy. So here we want an autonomy of 16 hours. And so during 16 hours, the storage element should be able to store all this energy that the module will consume over the night. And so we did the same for the demo I just showed you. So it just give you some hints and some information on the numbers. This demo, and it's here, actually, I'll show you after, consume about 4 joules. So we have internal efficiency and boost efficiency. We take 8 hours of light every day, and we find a minimum power that the source should give, so the PV cell, of 300 microwatts. And we saw that we have a PV cell of 350 microwatts. So we're good with this. We take as assumption that we don't need any primary battery. And we also take as assumption that here, for example, in the analysis, we take 16 hours of autonomy that we need. And therefore, we need a supercap of 700 millifarads. In the demo itself, we took another assumption of 3 hours of autonomy. So we can reduce the supercap, but it's all, balancing. So that's to give you an idea of how it works and how it should be thought to design an energy harvesting system. And we have another example. So that's not a demo, that's a product for a customer. So I won't go into really the details of what's inside this module, but we do have some sensors, an accelerometer and so on. And here we use LoRa communication. So we can send 48 messages a day. So our chip can work with different communication protocols, because it's not it's not stick to one protocol. So it really depends on the overall consumption. So if the LoRa consume a little bit more, we can send a little bit less messages a day. So here we take as an assumption 14 hours of autonomy. And we have a PV cell for outdoor light of 18 millimeters times 43. And the overall consumption is 1 milliwatts. So it's the average during the whole day. So it's a bit more than the previous one. And we can see here the characteristic of the PV cell, and we see this peak of power I talked about previously. And so that's a use case I wanted to show you. And there are on our website many other use cases, so don't hesitate to go through the website, and we have plenty of projects that we describe, and it's just to give ideas of what is possible to achieve. And as I said, we do have evaluation kits for each one of the EPIS modules. So depending on the energy you want to harvest from. And those kits comes with a very good documentation, and it's really easy to play and to start playing with, because there are jumpers to use all the different configurations. There are footprints for putting resistors if you want to use the custom mode. There are basically everything. You can play with it in lots of different ways. So feel free to contact Solid State Supply because it's available with them. And here there is a link to a video on we explain how to configure the demo and the evaluation kits.
Can I quickly add, Sasha? So we have YouTube channel as well, so where you can find that video and other videos that explain the technology.
Yeah, great. So thank you, Anna. So now I'm finished about the EPIS projects. So I think Richard is gonna take over.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. Is that good? So thanks to everyone. So what I'd like to do, back one, please. What I'd like to do is just take everyone through some new products we've got from our suppliers. We've got some excellent suppliers of silicon, including, of course, EPIS, that fit in very well, I believe, with energy harvesting. And these solutions are low power communication platforms, which